Greetings from fabulous Fabersham Drive here in Snellville, Georgia. This is your instructor, James, coming to you this week with a couple of tidbits for your assignments that are going to be coming due here in the next couple of weeks. I want to thank you all for your good work in the discussion forums. I've been working my way through them, and will continue to do that. I really appreciate very, very much your responses. Now, I want you to remember that your original posts for both of the discussion forums are due by Friday night before your head hits the bed, starting this week. And even if you aren't able to get to that original post, I would still encourage you to respond to a couple of your classmates so that you don't receive a zero, that you will receive some points, but more importantly, you're still going to be engaging with your classmates and their responses. But I'm almost positive that it's not going to be an issue. But I also know that life happens and things can get really busy on the weekends. So I just want to remind you of that as this video begins. And I'm going to start, and I want to keep this as brief as possible, so I'm not going to read these to you. But you may be wondering, we're in week 2, we're about to go into week 3. Why are we talking about the week 5 essay before talking about the interview with the pastor? Well, here is why. After you have read these opening paragraphs adapted from Choosing Spiritual Disciplines That Correspond to Our Needs by Ruth Barton, you'll notice in the instructions for this assignment that it says over the next 2 weeks. Well, this assignment is located in week 5. All right, and that is, of course, when it will be submitted. But to accomplish this instruction for the next 2 weeks, you'll need to begin this week 3. So, what we're going to be doing is you're going to be practicing a spiritual discipline and then write about your experience. There's a list below. Identify a barrier to spiritual growth, what Barton calls sin, that you feel might be keeping you from becoming the person God wants you to be. Next, you're going to read the chapter about the corresponding spiritual discipline in your textbook Soul Feast. Okay? Now, the assignment is broken up into 2 parts. Part 1 is what you're going to be looking at in weeks 3 and 4. You're going to be practicing the spiritual discipline that you choose daily and keeping a daily journal about your experience. Now, in your daily journal, in 1 to 2 sentences each, answer these 3 questions. We're wanting you to describe your experience practicing the discipline today. What has God shown you through this discipline today? Were there any challenges to practicing your spiritual discipline? And how did you deal with those challenges? Okay? That is part 1. That is what you're going to be doing for the next 2 weeks. If you come upon a day where you don't practice your discipline, journal that. Journal that, and then talk about the challenges that led to your not being able to practice that discipline for the day. Okay? And then during week 5, leading up to, of course, when the paper is due at the end of week 5, you're going to submit a report of your experience, and your report will have 3 parts, okay? We're asking you in the first part, in a 2 to 3 sentence introduction, to explain the barrier and corresponding discipline you chose to practice, all right? The second part is you're going to include all of your daily journal entries typed out, all right? And then in the third part, in 2 to 3 sentences, you're going to conclude your report with what you learned from this experience and how you can apply this to your life going forward. The specifications are here for you. On that, what I want to do last of all is just let you see this list. And when we talk about growth barriers, we talk about things like gossip, sins of speech as a growth barrier. So maybe a spiritual discipline that you engage in will be self-examination, confession, or awareness. Maybe you have anxiety and worry, so it would be prayer or what is called Lectio Divina, which is sacred reading. Maybe it's avoidance patterns. over busyness. So with each of these growth barriers, there is a corresponding spiritual discipline. And what you are to do is to, when you select the spiritual discipline, um, you then go to the Thompson text, Soul Feast, and read the chapter. Okay, and we have a pretty thorough list here for this assignment. Okay, so I did want to make you aware of that. That even though this is a week 5 assignment, your work on this part 1 begins next week. Okay, you can, if you choose to, begin it on week 4 and do your journal week 4 and week 5. But I always encourage my students, if you can start it in week 3, then week 5 can be dedicated to writing the essay. Okay. I want to go from here back to the interview with the pastor very, very quickly. I promised you this video on assignments a couple of weeks ago, but as with you, my life sometimes gets very, very busy. Okay. All right. So once again, just going over the instructions. This will be your week 4 paper. Now, keeping in mind that we're going into week 3 next week. So if you haven't heard from your pastor yet, you need to bug him, him or her, whatever. You need to bug them and get them to take the time to ask your to answer your questions. Now, if the student is, and I would say, if you're a pastor yourself, you should interview a pastor who is a peer, a colleague, or an overseer. Uh, the interviewee must be a pastor, not a deacon, not a Sunday school teacher, or other lay person. And if you don't have someone, please let me know. The sooner the better. Okay. The instructions are here for you on what we're looking for. And here are the questions that you can either set up a time to meet face to face, a phone call with a pastor, or you can send them via email to a pastor. And then when you get their responses, you can put your paper together. All right. But these are the 6 questions that make that up. Again, this is week 4. We're just getting toward the end of week 2, but I did want to get this out to you today. So I hope you all have a super weekend. Thank you again for your good work so far. Keep at it. You can do this. I'm here for you. You know how to reach me. Thank you so much for the privilege to be on this journey with you. So until next time, see ya.